to this computer. Today, I'm going to be making, I called them ugly Christmas sweater earrings. They look like these guys. It was an idea. I called them ugly because it was an idea I had when I started, but as has been pointed out, these guys came out kind of cute. So be that as it may, what I did, and again, I was intending to buy these on to actually sketch these by hand, but I found this little guy online, if you can see him, and he came in a left and a right image. And so that was perfect because I now have a left and a right earring. And so it's working out really nice. Now, the good news is it is from the Czech Republic, although I ordered them from the Czech Republic. They were 3D printed by someplace here in Houston, Texas, and shipped to my house. So shipping was fairly cheap. I'm getting a. Are you ladies picking up any background sound?
I hear it.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to.
I'm wondering if someone's on the phone, maybe. Oh, there we go. She muted.
Okay. Everyone is muted now, so if you need to say something, you have to unmute yourself and speak. I'm gonna have to edit this video. I know that. That's okay. Anyway, what I did to start with was, obviously I've got the snowmen. These guys are cute snowmen. I had the snowmen. I need to make a sweater. So what I did was I took one of the snowmen and I put him on a sheet of paper and I sketched around him. So I put him down on a sheet of paper, sketched around him. I wasn't careful. I just needed an idea of how he was going to be. When I get a size, so I've got a height down here at the bottom and the top and the left and the right. And then I sketched a sweater around him. Now, the first time I sketched the sweater, I made this guy, and you can't see that because it's white on white. I made this guy. And I looked at that and I thought, I don't like that sweater. And I played with it, trying to figure out what it is I didn't like. And I finally decided that I needed to make the shoulders a little, the shoulders needed to come out more, out about here. And the collar wasn't right. And I tried another collar that looked like this, and the collar still wasn't right. So what I finally decided I needed to do was to show you on this guy. I needed to put the collar so it came up from the sweater a bit on the ends here. So it actually sticks up, and that gave me a nice looking look. So when I finally had the outline sketched in and the collar in there right, I decided to go ahead and put a little ring for the collar and put some hash marks in there and some elastic at the sleeves and around the bottom. And then I went ahead and sketched in the line between the sleeve and the body, so I know about where that is. And then I simply, actually what I did was I took that and folded it in half because my abilities at drawing are not that fantastic. And I wanted it to be symmetric. And so I folded it in half, looked at the two sides, decided which one I liked the best, and then cut along that and unfolded him. And I've got this guy. And that becomes the base for my sweater. Looks like that. And then when I'm working with this, and you can see on this guy here, I went ahead and using a stylus along the lines on the sheet, went ahead and put in marks here for the sleeve and the sweater, and then all the little hash elastic marks around the bottom and around the collar, so that I get a nice shaped sweater. And playing with this, Christmas colors, red and green, decided, looking through my clay stash, red was actually too red. And I found the pomegranate. And I like the pomegranate. So I've got a bag of pomegranate that won't come out of the bag. Got him. So I've got a bag of pomegranate here, like that. You guys get it off to the side. Let me run that through the machine once. I am running this through on one setting below the thickest. So on my machine, which is an Atlas, it's a number 2. So I've got the clay on the number 2. And I didn't want a nice smooth sweater because sweaters are not nice and smooth. And for those that know me, I have a ton of texture sheets. So I went through my texture sheets. I was hoping to find one that looked like a chain stitch, make it look like a real sweater. I couldn't find that. What I did find was this, which is labeled linen, I believe. So it's got a nice cloth type texture to it. Now I keep pushing on the clay to make sure it's stuck on the tile, because it is critical that it is stuck to the tile, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. And then I'm going to take my sheet, and with this texture sheet, one side is rough and one side is fairly smooth. I'm going to put some water on the rather smooth side and put that on my tile so that the actual rough texture comes up, because that's what I want on my clay, is a texture that comes up and not down. I tried doing it the other way around, and it gave me a very smooth sheet. And I could see some texture, but I couldn't feel it, and I didn't like that look. So I tried it this way, and I liked it better. Now with the water on here, I can roll over it with a brayer, my acrylic rod, and see when I've squeezed all the air out and pretty much have nothing but the texture into the clay. And also with the water, I lose the cap to the water. My wife's going to kill me. Found it. I live to teach another class. Now, I don't know if you can see or not, but there is now some fair texture on that sheet of clay. Pick up the last of the water. So that works. And take my sweater, and I'm just going to find a spot I like and put the sweater down there. I'm probably going to cover up what it is I'm doing. Sorry about that. But I'm simply going to cut along the sides of this sweater template. Oh, you've got it symmetric, so you got to do that. Cut right along the outside edge. Being
Can I
very
ask
careful.
real
Being-
quick what size your sweater is? And is that
Okay, the size of the sweater, he said, I think the sweater is about 2 inches. It's because the snowman's a little over an inch. And so that's going to be 1.5 inches or so. Tell you what, that is a question I meant to answer. Okay, I'm back. The sweater itself is let's see, I did cut. Oh, I need to cut along him. He's going to be about 1.75 inches. Let me cut him out, and I'll measure him carefully, and we'll know exactly what he is. Or I got a better idea. I got a snowman here. This guy is from one end to the other inch. It's 1.75 inches top to bottom. So, and I needed that because the snowman himself, as I say, is just about an inch. Well, he's 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, the snowman's 3/4 of an inch. That was the smallest I could get. So by the time I've got a little bit on the bottom and a little bit on the top, I've got about an inch margin over the snowman, and that is about as small as I can make it. Now, initially, I was actually going to try and sketch my own snowman. And if you've seen my skills as a free sketch artist, you will know why I don't do that often. Because I'm not that good. I do better with sculpting than I do with sketching. I'm only going to do one earring today. If you people want to work along with me, I apologize. But what I do for one is exactly what you do for the other. So I've got a sweater. Now that I need to, the reason I keep making sure he's on the tile is going to be evident just a second here, because I did this with having him on a sheet of wax paper, and I've tried him on paper, I've tried him on deli sheets, I've tried to break him loose from the tile and then do this move. And invariably what happens is if the clay is not stuck to the tile, when I press down on him, he sticks to the cutter. So if I push down right now and pull up, he sticks to the tile now. Now, I've got several more steps I need to do, and I'm getting myself out of sequence. Sorry about that, ladies. Let me do that. Let me go back here and put the sweater back on. I meant to do this while I still had it. I've got a very tiny ball stylus here, very small ball. So I just want to trace along the seam between the sleeve and the body, so I know where that mark is. Trace a little something around the neck of the collar, so I get him in there where I wanted him. I can do this, or I can freehand this. Not quite that bad, but I'll draw that in right now while I've got it. And you probably can't see, but I can see my marks. There they are. They show up. See the marks I made. So I've got those. I'm going to take a needle tool and very carefully remove my snowman, because who wants a red snowman, from there. And there's always a little bit of fuzz on the inside of this. And if I don't clean it up now, it's going to be part of the piece when I'm done, and I don't want that. So I'm going to just try and run right along the edge here and get rid of all the extraneous little pieces that didn't get pulled out. Just the very tip of the cutter leaves a little bit of residue behind. I'm going to take my needle tool, I think, and reinforce these lines. So I've got, nope, I'm going to take my stylus. If I do that with the needle tool, I'm going to make a mess. Just to strengthen those lines a little bit. This line, the very hem of my sweater, and if I'm not using the right terms, I apologize. Got a line that should be right there. The cuff and this guy. And then just to reinforce the elastic in the sweater, I'm going to take my needle tool and just draw little vertical marks along here to make it look a little more like it's got that elastic base at the bottom of the sweater and along the sleeves. Just going to reinforce them there. And then I'm going to put them here at the top of the sweater. And I can see, as I do this, I can see a little bit of fuzz still inside there. I'll clean that out. Now, once I've got that guy fairly clean, I'm happy with him. I'm going to take him up and set him aside for a bit while I work on the rest. So I can take him up, and this is the last time to, as I look at that, if you can see in there, there's still a little bit of fuzz along here in a few places. It's a little bit of residue clay. No, yes, it's on the back side of the earring and it won't show up too much, but if I'd make it clean now, then it's going to be nicer later. Now comes the fun part, making a snowman. Yeah. For that, obviously, I'm going to take white clay. He needs to be exactly the same thickness as the sweater. Oh, so I'm going to run him through my POS machine on the same setting. I chose one just one level down from the thickest setting because there's something I want to try at the end that I haven't tried before, and one should never do something new in a demo that they haven't already, that they don't know what's going to happen. But oh, I had a good idea this morning, and so I have to try it. Get the white clay softened up a bit. Okay. Now we've got some white clay. Clean my tile off because the white is going to pick up absolutely everything on this. On there. And again, I'm pushing him down on the tile so that he stays there on the tile. And there is my snowman. And I'm going to just, again, push down on him. Push him all the way to the tile. If I was making a full pair of earrings, I would take the other snowman and do the same thing. So he would come in just right next to him over here. But I don't need that guy because it won't fit in the one I've already got. Now that having done that, I don't know if it doesn't show up there. See if I can get, you can see the cutter has got a little bit of shape. It's got, you can see the face and the neck and the scarf and the hat. So it gives me some lines I can use to cut along, which will be very handy. In fact, let me do that right now. Looking upside down. If I take the top of the scarf and cut right along him, and I'm going to be in my own shadow, and that's not good. I'm going to come in. I've got a light here from the side so I can see. Cut along there between the snowman and the hat. Cut. Want to cut the scarf. It should look like this. So I've got those lines guiding me, and the top of the scarf cuts in like that. Now, if I did that exactly right, I should be able to come under that snowman and lift everything up, and he should just pop out in pieces. There we go. I got a base for a snowman. I've got a scarf off to the side. I've got a hat for the snowman. I've got a hat for the snowman. Aha, there he is. So there's my snowman in white. I'm going to keep pieces off to the side just for reference for myself. I wanted a scarf. And I tried plain green, and plain green just did not make it for me. So what I did was I marbled some green and some white. Don't know if you can see that clearly. I just did a loose marble on green and white and came up with something that looked like it might have some sort of a funny texture to it, but no real pattern. It's exactly what I wanted. And I'm going to run that through the phosphor machine on the same setting as everything else. So I've got a green clay here that's got a little white, little something shiny in it, a few inclusions here and there. And again, I'm going to push him down onto the tile because I need him firmly on the tile. Now I only need the scarf. So if I get something in there that's not, I don't need to, if I got a hole, I got a hole. If it's too small, it's okay as long as I just get the scarf cut out. Again, pushing down. And, oh dear. We're going to try that again, ladies. I think, yep, we got to try that again. I didn't have him have it. If you don't have it firmly on the tile, that is what happens. And sometimes it gets stuck inside the cutter and then you've got a real problem. Trust me, I have done that a few times. Don't do that. Let me run the machine again once or twice just to try and get something going for me here. This time you are going to stay and you will like it. Push him down. Make sure he's down firm. Everything's well cut. Stay there. He stayed that time. Good. And again, I just want the scarf. And it is not easy to see all of this, but the scarf, the top of the scarf is a line running right across here. The bottom of the scarf is pretty much parallel to that line right through there. And then down side here, up and through there. And that should give me a scarf. Ah, we have a scarf. Slowly getting put back together. Just doing this to make sure I got all the pieces where they belong. Now all I need is the hat.
Can I ask you another
Yes.
question? I asked
Sure,
so many questions. Have you tried painting? I've never tried paint on clay. I've done the like alcohol inks or the mica powders or something, but not painting. I just wondered if maybe it would be easier to paint it, but I don't know if it would work.
It does work if you paint it before you bake it. I've been using acrylic paint on polymer clay, and painting before you bake it, it does help it to lock in real well.
Oh, okay.
I guess that is an option. You can do. I thought about doing that, but I don't know. I got locked into this idea and decided to pursue it. See what happened.
That's probably neater.
And now I need hat, and for my hat, I was going to use black. And for some reason, my black just ran away. There's some black. Years ago, I started mixing black and silver. Again, those who know me know that I like the mica clays, the clays with the mica powders in them. And I did a lot of fun things with that, with those material. But I couldn't come up with a nice shiny black. And so I had started at that point in time mixing black with silver, about a 50-50 blend, which gave me a nice dark, almost black clay that had a nice mica sheen to it and looked cool. And I showed that to the people at Polyform. I had some friends there. And a few years later, Polyform came out with graphite, which is a lot like black with silver in a 50-50 blend. But neither here nor there. At least I can buy it now instead of mixing my own. And again, I'm pressing this guy to make sure he stays. And I just need the hat at this point for this. So I'm going to put him there, press down, make sure I get a good impression. You notice I started with, I did the red first, and then I did a little bit of cleaning work on my cutter. And then I went white, green, and then black. There is a reason for that, and it doesn't matter this time. But sometimes a little bit of the clay gets stuck in the cutter. And if you don't clean it right away, it gets onto the next piece of clay you're working with. Which, if you start with black and then move to white, you've got a mess. If you start with white and then go to black, then nobody knows. And all I need from this guy is the top hat. That I had anyway. I don't know if that's a hat or exactly. I don't know if it's a top hat. And I can't. The doctor tells me my eyes are going bad. Told him I didn't see that. But cut along that line there. Got him, I think. I think I got him. Hope I got him. We'll find out in just a minute. Pull him up, keep the hat pressed aside. And that should be the basics from my snowman there. You got a little bit of adjustment to do here and there. Should not be too much extra work. It helps if I can get him assembled before I put him into the sweater. And one option is to bake the sweater first and then put the snowman into him. That does actually work a little better than what I'm trying to today. But I thought I would do it this way. In case anyone was following along and we didn't have time to do a bake. Oh, come on. I've got that just a little bit off. If I put the snowman body into the crack, into the edge of the sweater, and then bring that, or into the edge of the scarf, I can bring that down. That should work. Okay, now I've got my snowman assembled reasonably well. And if you look carefully, don't know if it shows up or not, try and get an angle on there. There is mouth, nose, or mouth, eyes, and buttons down the front. So I've got a little bit yet to do. Let me get my sweater back into the picture. We bring the sweater back in. And ideally, this guy should just drop in, although he never does. But he should be fairly close. And with a little bit of coaxing, we can probably get him adjusted. I'm actually going to take the bottom half off first and drop that in, because that connection between the top and the base seems to be where I have the most difficulty getting things aligned. So I can take this guy. I don't really want to be using that to do it. And with a little bit of coaxing here, And there's a trick. If I bend him just a bit, so put a little curvature to it, he'll take up less room laterally and drop in a little easier, and then I can flatten him out. I can drop him in easy. There he, see how easy that drops in, and then just a little bit of pressure and he'll flatten out. I'm going to do the same thing with the hat or the top half. Take him, bend him around my fingers just a little bit. It makes him just a touch smaller widthwise. Come on, don't do that. And get him to drop in there like that. And then I'm going to press down. And somewhere I have a deli sheet, he said, hopefully, expectantly, in anticipation. Somebody around, there's my deli sheet. I've got a deli sheet. I'm going to put this guy, take all the wrinkles out, find a nice clean spot. I'm going to rub over him a little bit. I'm trying to be careful and not mash the texture. Really what I'm doing is running my finger over the seams where the different colors of clay come together. Putting a little bit of pressure there so that things expand a little bit and fill in, and I don't have very many gaps. And I'm hoping this thing holds together, and I've gotten all the gaps sealed up. Not quite. You probably can't tell, but I've got a few gaps left. I've got one down here as part of the scarf. I'm gonna put a little more pressure there, a little more pressure in a few places here around the hat, and that's going to be good. Now I can see where I need to put the black for the eyes and the mouth and the buttons. This one surprised me. I thought I could make really, really small pieces of clay and drop them in there. And what I ended up doing was rolling out a snake. And I got the snake really, 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 really thin. I mean, really thin. And I thought it was more than thin enough. It turns out not to be thin enough. So if I take just ever so small a piece, you can see that guy. And roll him up a little bit. Roll him up a little bit. Get my stylus and put him on the stylus. And then try to fit him into where one of the eye sockets goes. There he is. And I need to come up with, and I should have, had I been smart, I would have done that and made one slightly larger piece and cut him in half. So I had exactly the same size pieces, but I didn't do that for the demo. And so we probably have one eye bigger than the other. And then I'm going to take my deli sheet, push them down just ever so slightly so that they are firmly attached there. A smile, he said. This little guy needs to smile. I'm going to take something about that long, I think is the right length. Make sure he's down there well. I need a little bit of a curvature to him. So I'm going to try and curve him a bit. It's probably too much. And it's sticking to my finger and not the stylus. Okay. And believe it or not, that is too wide. So I'm going to take it a little bit off the ends. And try that again. And there's a smile on my, come on, let's have a smile. We got a smile on the guy. Now that looks about the right size for a button, so I'm just going to pick him up and lose it on my finger. Pick him up with the stylus, because my fingers are so fat that if I try to do it with my fingers, I'm going to mess it up. And he wants to stay with the fingers. There we go. There's one. About the fourth time you do this, it gets a lot easier. Partially because you learn how tiny these things really need to be. You eventually develop the dexterity to get them to move right. Well, got him. There. I'm going to try and move him just a little bit to get him lined up. Deli sheet, deli sheet. There's the deli sheet. That smile looks a little thick to me. Sorry, ladies, I'm going to remove his smile. Which is why I did not put him down tight yet. Yeah, I'm going to very carefully remove the smile, keeping it off the scarf. And I'm going to put the buttons down before I do much more to them. And then I need to make this guy even thinner. He said, well, let's just try another piece. Thin, 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 thin. I do have a trick for making it thinner, but I don't have enough room here to do that. Okay, what I do is I put something on top and roll it back and forth. I'll keep the thickness uniform. I can apply just light pressure and make it thinner as I go. Want it even thinner than that, because that smile is quite thin. Let's try that. Cut off about that much for the smile. A little bend in it. Catch it with our stylus. Catch it with a needle tool. Gotcha. And put him in place. And there we go. That looks a little better to me. I'm just applying light pressure. I want to make sure the clay gets adhered well and is tacked down. Get my residue out of here so that I don't add to it. I'm going to do one last light check. Okay, when I look at it from the back, I can see a small gap right here between the top of the scarf and the head. I'm going to try and put just a little bit of pressure there, maybe pull him a little bit, pull the scarf a little bit up. It's not critical at this point, where I've got another thing I want to try, and if that works, then I don't have a problem. Still got a little gap there. You probably can't see it. Holding him up to the light, I can see a little gap. There's a little darkness you see on the side of the scarf as it comes around the neck right here. What am I going to do? And this is the thing you don't do when you're working something, doing a demo. I'm going to move him off to the side. So keep him there. I've got leftover pomegranate clay. I'm going to run it through my POS machine on a reasonably thin setting. This is, my machine goes 1 to 6, and I'm running this thing through on a 4. Okay, there is that. There is my texture sheet with other stuff on it. There is my spritzer that belongs to my wife, and she's going to kill me if I lose it. I want that. I don't want any air under my clay, so I'm trying to make sure I've got that, the air bubbles out from under it. I'm going to spritz the clay this time. Take my texture sheet with the texture up, and you can see I've got, you probably can't see, I've got a lot of airspace in there. And so I'm going to take my acrylic roller and roll over that. Make sure I try and get a good texture on this piece. Texture sheet should come up easy. Got it. Use a paper towel to blot the water off the clay and off the tile. Got that. Now I'm going to do something very strange. Having done that, I'm going to pick this piece of clay up. It is quite thin. And I'm going to use him as a backing for my sweater. Because right now, the back of that sweater is ugly in simple terms. I'm putting it on a paper towel because I don't want to flatten out the texture I just put in there. And I'm going to take my sweater, up, and put him on this. I've got the texture on the back sheet down, and this guy has got texture on the top of the sweater, and I've got texture on the back sheet. So I've got texture here, texture on that guy, and I've got him on the paper towel because, again, if I'm not very careful and I push down too hard, I can remove the texture from the backing sheet. I'm just going to cut around this. That's not going to work. I got to do it. I'm going to be very, very careful with this because I don't want to lose the texture I just put in. I'm going to cut around this guy. Should be easy to cut around him. And again, you could do this after you bake the top, but for the sake of the demo, I'm going to do it all in one shot and then bake it after. And yes, I find it easier for me if I cut pieces off and remove them, get them out of the way. I'm less likely to mess up what I'm working on. And that is the voice of experience, ladies. There's that. There's that. Got the collar to go. Take the collar. Cut the collar. Shape the collar. Clean up what I did. Now, if I didn't do this too firmly, that should, there we go, comes right up. You probably can't see it. There is a little bit of, you can see a few spots where I didn't get it quite sealed well, but for the most part, the seam between the two pieces has disappeared. And so I now have one completed earring. little guy looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and bake him on my paper towel.
Do you do your hole first or do you drill it later?
I drill it later. I'll show you that in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. I'm baking on the towel. The polymer clay as it bakes will take on whatever texture it's sitting on. So if I bake it on a tile, all the texture I put in the back is going to get flattened out and shiny. If I bake it on a paper towel, there's very little pressure on it and it will come out with the texture that I put there. And so the back of this guy is just one red back of the sweater. In the front of it is this cute little guy. Now then, answer Michelle's question. To answer Michelle's question, let me get my guys out of the way here. Get my guys out of the way. The bag disappeared. Well, we'll save them and it'll turn up later. I've got one of my sweaters here, one of my little guys, and I've got a drill in my hand. I'm going to start just below the collar and drill by hand. I've got some better drill bits. I could not find them when this class started, so I will do it this way. Try not to put too much pressure on that. You can crack the clay, but if you keep just a little bit of firm hand on that and just keep rotating and drilling, you should come through, and I'm not. Okay, failing that, we try for another drill bit. This one's a little larger than I wanted, but it should work. Whoops. This guy is called a pin vise, and I use him a lot when I'm drilling if I've got smaller bits. Let's say I've got a larger bit here than I wanted. And if I'm careful, I can by hand drill down through that polymer clay. It's not hard. And no, I try not to do a Dremel. I've tried dremeling through these, and well, I have a heavy hand in simple terms, and I tend to break the clay or go through it. My best work has come out when I backed the clay with a block of wood and drilled into the clay and into the wood, and then everything came out nice. Got a hole. He has a hole. He lost his jump ring. Never mind, I got a jump ring. Got a jump ring here. So if I take a jump ring, everybody knows how to open and close jump rings, don't you? Doesn't matter if you do or not, you're going to get a crash course, just so we're all on the same page. When you open a jump ring, this one's already open, so I'll have to close him. What you want to do okay, this guy is now closed. So I'm going to just take my hands, grab the two sides of the jump ring, and rotate this way. I'm not going to pull it open. I'm just going to rotate him out of position. So by doing that, you see I've got my jump ring now is out of focus. My jump ring is open, but it's simply split. So if it was this way, it's now split like that. I don't do this, I simply do that. And lose the jump ring when I set it down. How do I do that? There is a jump ring on that table somewhere. Doesn't matter.
I
Pardon?
thought I saw it roll more towards that little piece of black clay there. I saw it go that direction. So I don't know.
That direction. Yeah, I don't know where it went to. Like I say, I've got jump rings I have. That's where it came from. Came out of this container. And it is one like that. Okay, we got a jump ring that's open. He should fit right in there. Now, because I'm paranoid, I'm going to close him while I work at the work on the next step. There, got a jump ring on there. We got a bunch of ear wires here. My fingers are not working today, which is really bad for demo. Got an ear wire. So if I put the ear wire on that way, it's going to hang wrong. So I want one more jump ring in there. And we'll try and put a small one in there, because I don't want a lot of space. You say I've got a few jump rings. Pick a size, pick a color. If I did this right, I would probably have used an oval jump ring, but I could not find them for this demo. So I will use round jump rings. I would have put an oval on the sweater because I think it would be nicer that way. Would make it hang a little different. Like I said, I couldn't find the oval, so I will do this. Put that jump ring on there. Catch the ear wire, making sure that the hook is pointed towards the back. Got a jump ring and a jump ring. Close that guy up. Why are you hanging funny? You should hang that way. There we go. So there is my earring. Fascinating. I have to work on that a little bit. Whoops, there's my problem. I didn't get that jump ring closed. Okay, sorry. I'll close the jump ring in a bit. Anyway, that is my earring. Looks like that. Cute little guy. I was going to try and make some others for the demo today. I was going to make a Christmas tree, but my sleep cycle has been horribly disrupted by the fact that I am way out of sync with the rest of the world. So I did not get any others made. If I do make some, I may post them on YouTube when I post the video. So let me hit stop record. Let me stop the recording. There we go.